California. Good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Today we have ourselves quite the show, as we have a lot to get to in the world of Southern California sports, such as the Chargers. They lost one, but they won a big one, as they lost the Bucs, but defeated the Denver Broncos in what was a must-win game. What are the Chargers' chances of making the playoffs look like? And the Rams are back in action after a little bit of a mini-bye against the New York Jets. Can the Rams continue their winning ways and move ever so closer to winning the NFC West? Also, the Lakers look pretty solid as they've won 2 in a row. Same with the Clippers. But can they keep it up? Also, UC Irvine men's basketball suffers its first loss of the season, losing to Oregon State, but they managed to bounce back against Belmont. Also, UCLA women's basketball continues to remain undefeated as the #1 Lady Bruins continue to kick butt and take names. Also, USC women's hoops is back in action as they have a huge game against #4 UConn in a rematch of last year's Elite 8 loss. All that and more here on the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. This is Teran Rodriguez bringing you another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio. Your feed for all that sports. And welcome all to another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Thank you all for joining me on this beautiful Friday afternoon, Friday evening, Friday wherever you are listening from. Either way, you've made your way to episode 206 of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. And without any further delay, let us begin. But first and foremost, the SoCal Supreme Sports Show would not be where it's at without IE Sports Radio providing the platform to go live on StreamYard. Please do follow us on social media on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok at IE Sports Radio. Also, make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, IE Sports Radio. If you do so, we will get ever so closer to 400 subscribers, and maybe we'll try to get to 500 subscribers by the time January of 2025 hits. With your help, we can make that goal possible. Make sure to check out IE Sports Radio on several different podcast platforms, such as Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music /Audible, CastBox, Deezer, GeoSalvin, the list goes on and on. Also, make sure to check out our website, iesportsradio.com, for all of your latest sports news, our blog, our page dedicated to each podcast, such as the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, and check out our merchandise shop where you can cop sweatshirts, which is good for the winter, tank tops, t-shirts, and all sorts of IE Sports Radio swag. Also, make sure to check out our Hall of Fame, as I am Hall of Fame member number 10. For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel, to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Thank you to everyone for all of your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that sports. Before we get on into the action, we have to give word to our sponsors, Plant Jerky, Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, and Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. And we need to tell you all what IE Sports Radio is all about. So without any further delay, let's do this.
IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all-brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the IE Sports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
That's right, everybody. Definitely check out our amazing sponsors, Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky and Seal the Deal Wax Seals. And also check out our website. In addition, we would also like to give a shout to our new sponsor, Vital Apparel. Use our code IESR to get 15% off their comfortable and inspiring gym wear and help them on their journey to support mental health. So a huge shout to our new sponsor, Vital Apparel. We appreciate you all for being the official sponsors of IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. And the way you can follow the SoCal Supreme Sports Show on social media is on X at SoCal Show IESR. And you can follow me, the host, personally, Teran Rodriguez, at Teran Rodriguez 1. All right, so now let's go into the Southern California sports action. As Ralph Clace popped into the chat room, he says, he first says, good evening, Teran. Happy holidays to you. and the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Well, happy holidays to you too. Ralph is going to be going live with his show, The Yins Report, fairly soon, and he's going to have a guest, Mike Pat. So definitely try to tune into that as well. He says I'll be leaving shortly for The Yins Report at 8 p.m., 5 p.m. 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific time. Have a great show. Well, thank you. Well, thank you, Ralph. I definitely do appreciate that, and it really means a lot to me that you were able to tune in. It really does. So Ralph is always, he's actually on episode 49, which I think is pretty cool. So if he stays the course, next week will be episode 50, which I think is pretty darn cool. Hard to believe that he has been with us for this long, which I think is pretty darn cool, if you ask me. So thank you to Ralph. It is much appreciated. And Christian pops into the chat room. He says, have a great show. Thank you, Christian. He is the host of our Detroit show, Gritsville, USA, which I think is pretty darn cool, if you ask me. So thank you to Christian. It is much appreciated. So without any further delay, let us begin on into the SoCal sports action. So get this out of the way. And let's start with the Chargers, just because I'm rocking my Tommy Bahama Chargers polo shirt. So, yeah. So let's go in chronological order. So the Chargers did not have a good game. The Chargers had a bad game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, it looked promising at first. It was looking very promising, as honestly, they were up 17-13 at halftime. They got an interception against Baker Mayfield. And against Baker Mayfield-led teams, the Chargers seemed to have great success. And they had 2 touchdown passes from Justin Herbert, which I thought was pretty darn impressive, which I thought was cool. Everything was looking so swimmingly for the Chargers to win. Everything was looking very nice, and I was just impressed with the Chargers. I mean, I know they weren't up big, but the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were looking mighty fine, and they had won 3 in a row going into this game. So the touchdown passes came from Ladd McConkey, who made his return after missing last week, and then Quentin Johnston. So there you have it right there. Chargers were looking good. And they even got a field goal as well before that Johnston touchdown. So everything was looking good. Chargers were up 17-10 at halftime, and I'm thinking, okay, this is looking nice. Chargers are looking really, really, really fine. They're up 17-13. But the Bucs showed why they had won 3 in a row. Mike Williams woke up. It seems like whenever the Chargers play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they just don't have the answer for them. And Mike Evans was the big reason why. He had 109, 109. Either way, he had more than 100 receiving yards. He torched the Chargers secondary. The Chargers secondary is so bad that their 5th-round picks are even getting hurt. And even their safeties are getting hurt. So Mike Evans had 159 receiving yards. He had 2 receiving touchdowns. It was just bad, dude. It was just a nightmare for the Chargers. And what's worse is that the Chargers' run game, or the run defense, they got gashed as Bucky Irving, who was a game-time decision. He had 117 rushing yards, and he just gashed the Chargers' run defense like it was the Chargers' run defense from 2-3 years ago. All in all, the Chargers gave up over 500 yards of offense to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's not going to get the job done. I'm sorry, but that was just not good by the Chargers' behalf. And what's worse is that the Chargers' offense got shut out in the second half as Justin Herbert, which I really, really wish this did not happen. Justin Herbert threw his first interception in over 300-plus passes. And I think he could have had the surpassed Tom Brady for the number of passes without an interception, which I thought was pretty cool. But unfortunately, he threw an interception to the Bucs. It looked like Quentin Johnston had a chance for it, but the ball was just slightly overthrown, and Quentin Johnson just could not get it just because inconsistency and whatnot. So the Chargers eventually wound up losing 40-17. This was kind of the tale of two halves. The Chargers looked like they were strong and in control in the second half, and then the Bucs woke up, and it was just a frustrating game overall for the Chargers. And what's worse is that the Chargers losing and the Broncos winning wound up seeing the Chargers in 7th place, which if the playoffs would start today or that day, Chargers would be facing the Buffalo Bills, which is a horrible matchup. But the Chargers faced the Denver Broncos, and they managed to bounce back against said Denver Broncos team, beating the Broncos 34-27, which I thought was pretty cool if you ask me. Ralph says, thanks for your kind words, Teran. You are a role model to me, as I always say. Thank you, Ralph. And, all right, so the Chargers-Broncos game. Okay, this was flexed into Thursday Night Football, which I did not think was possible, and I was really concerned for this game. Even though I said the Chargers were going to win, I had my concerns. It was a short day of rest. Chargers corner secondary was not good. Heck, even their 5th-round picks were getting injured. Cam Hart was out due to an injury. So first quarter action, it was Chargers went 3-and-out. Now I was concerned. I was like, oh no, it's going to be one of those games, isn't it? As eventually the Chargers run game was gashed as well as Javonte Williams went in, or I'm sorry, not Javonte Williams, Audric Estime went in for a 3-yard rushing touchdown. So suddenly the Chargers are down 7-0. But the Chargers, even though J.K. Dobbins is out, they had their running back in Gus the Bus Edwards, as he was able to take it in for a 1-yard rushing touchdown. Suddenly it's tied up at 7-7. So I'm thinking, okay, it's going to be a shootout. It's going to be a high-scoring affair. Chargers are just going to have to match Denver tit for tat. Eventually, it was another rushing touch. Actually, it was a 1-yard passing touchdown as Bo Nix found Michael Burton for the score. Burton's the fullback of the Denver Broncos. So next drive for the Chargers, chewing up some good clock, but unfortunately, they had to settle for a 37-yard field goal. So suddenly the Chargers are down 14-10. And then the Broncos just continued to torch the Chargers offensively. Eventually, Bo Nix found Devon Vele for a 6-yard passing touchdown. So suddenly, the Chargers were down 21-10. And if you all saw my posts, I was live posting on the Chargers game from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I said, if the Chargers lose against the Denver Broncos, I will be using some colorful language. And I kind of had to use a little bit of colorful language in the Chargers game. They were terrible in the first half. The defense was just not there. The offense just could not get anything going. And on the Chargers' second to last drive of the game, or of the first half, Justin Herbert unfortunately throws an interception in the end zone. It's like, come on. It was very frustrating. But the Broncos made one significant mistake. So the Broncos eventually went 3-and-out because they didn't chew up enough clock. On 4th down, after 3rd down, Jim Harbaugh called a timeout. Then eventually the Broncos punted, and Darius Davis was signaling for a fair catch. It looked like the Chargers were going to get one last chance at maybe scoring. But apparently one of the Broncos players ran into Darius Davis. Now, it wasn't significant, but I guess he stepped on his foot or tripped him up, and it was a fair catch interference. And eventually it got moved up the Chargers got moved up 15 yards. So now this was the interesting turning point, and I think this was the biggest turning point of the game. So the Chargers were actually rewarded a free kick field goal. This is very rare, as the last time we had seen something like this was back when I think it was the New York Giants against the Carolina Panthers, and Joey Sly attempted to kick the field goal, but he missed. So Cameron Dicker, who has been Mr. Reliable at the kicking position for the Chargers, he manages to they're actually trotting him out onto the field, and he's going to get a 57-yard field goal attempt. It's a free kick, so nobody can rush him, and basically he has no pressure in the world. He's just got to hit it right down Broadway. even the Broncos icing him didn't do much, as Cameron Dicker knocked down the first free kick field goal since 1976, which ironically enough, the Chargers were actually the last team to accomplish this successfully, as the Chargers, instead of going down 21-13 at halftime, or 21-10 at halftime, they only went down 21-13. So if Cameron Dicker does not make the Pro Bowl, there's a problem. Like, the dude definitely deserves to be in the Pro Bowl. Like, the dude has practically been automatic for the Chargers. And he just nailed a free kick field goal, which hasn't been done since 1976. So there's no way anyone with a brain can tell me that Cameron Dicker does not deserve the Pro Bowl. Anyway, so second half action, the Broncos did get on the board with a the Broncos scored with a 41-yard field goal from Will Lutz. So suddenly the Broncos are back up 11, 24-13. But the Chargers offense woke up as Gus Edwards, I'm going to give him a lot of credit, even though he hasn't been the greatest. The dude has taken the running back position with J.K. Dobbins out, and he's kind of ran with it. So no pun intended, as he ran it in for a 5-yard rushing touchdown. The Chargers went for 2, and Justin Herbert was stopped inches short of the goal line. So suddenly, instead of it being 24-21, it was 24-19. I will admit there was a questionable, unnecessary roughness call on the Broncos, but Chargers have to take what they can get. And the Broncos should have been a little less aggressive because they knew Justin Herbert was going to slide, and he gave himself up. So no need to go all out and whatnot. So fourth quarter action, the Chargers forced the Broncos to punt, and eventually Justin Herbert found Darius Davis with a really good touchdown pass. I think it went as follows, and this is not going to do it any justice. So Justin Herbert threw the ball, and he went right to the end zone. And Darius Davis, being so fast, he just sprinted for the end zone, beating his defender, and he caught the ball. This is one of the reasons why I like the Darius Davis pick. He's so fast. He's not just a kick returner, but he can be a good wide receiver, and heck, he can even double as a nice running back as well. But I think the true play of the game was the 2-point conversion. So Chargers go for 2 just because going for 2 would mean that if they get it, they're up 3. Whereas if they don't get it, they're up 1, and the Broncos can just get like a field goal. So Justin Herbert throws the ball. It gets deflected, and I'm thinking, oh, this one's going to be incomplete. But Joshua Palmer, being the sly boy he is, he bobbled it and then caught it with one arm and securely got it with 2. And then he got the little toe drag swag and toe tap. And eventually he got the 2-point conversion for the Chargers. That probably was the play of the game. And then the Broncos went 3 and out. Oh, the Broncos punted, and the Chargers eventually punted. Then the Broncos eventually punted. And it was all up to the Chargers offense to try to ice the game. And Gus Edwards had a big run, which eventually set up the Chargers very nicely. And then 2 plays after that, Justin Herbert has a shovel pass to Hassan Haskins for a 34-yard touchdown score. So suddenly, after being down 24-13, the Chargers ran off 21 unanswered points, which I thought was impressive. Eventually, the Broncos did get one last score. They got a 55-yard field goal from Will Lutz, and eventually they kicked the onside kick, but the Chargers chewed up quite a bit of clock. By the time it was 4th down, there was like 4 seconds left, and all Justin Herbert needed was to just chuck the ball in the air as high as he could, and eventually by the time that ball came down, it was incomplete, and all the time had wound down. So a great win for the Chargers, beating the Broncos at home 34-27. This definitely improves the Chargers' playoff hopes, as both teams are now 9-6, but the Chargers have the tiebreaker over the Broncos. And now this is kind of interesting for me. I mean, if the playoffs started today, the Chargers would face the Pittsburgh Steelers, which I don't know how to feel about that. But maybe with the familiarity that the Chargers have against the Steelers, maybe they could win that one, but I'm not entirely certain. So the Chargers have a little bit of a mini bye week, as their next game will be against the New England Patriots. So yeah, their last 2 games are against the Patriots, which are 3-12, and Raiders, which are 2-13. Raiders won't have Max Crosby. they are pretty much starting Desmond Ridder unless Aiden O'Connell manages to make a late season comeback. The Patriots, they're obviously tanking as well, as Christian Barmore just got put on IR. So I expect the Chargers to hopefully win both games out, because if they do so and they get some help from the Ravens, or they get some help from the Steelers and maybe the Texans, then maybe the Chargers could be the 5 seed. And if they get the 5 seed, then maybe they could be seeing themselves facing the Texans, which would not be a bad matchup. Whereas if they face the Steelers, that's a bad matchup because their defense is so strong. And then the Buffalo Bills is a matchup nightmare for them. So I expect the Chargers to take care of business on their end. They're oh so close to making the playoffs. There's a 97% chance the Chargers will make the playoffs. Heck, they can even make the playoffs if the Miami Dolphins and the Indianapolis Colts both lose this weekend. But at least I won't have the stress of knowing that the Chargers are going to be in another close game and they have the chance of stabbing me in the heart. But I digress. All right, that's that for the Chargers. Heading down to the Rams. So they will be heading down east to take on the New York Jets, where they'll be playing at MetLife Stadium. So here's the thing for the Rams. The Rams are actually in first place in their division, as thanks to the Seahawks losing to the Green Bay Packers. Thank you, Green Bay Packers. The Rams are technically tied for first place with the Seahawks, but they have the tiebreaker over the Seahawks. So the Rams need to win this game. This is a must-win game for the Rams. There's no better way of saying it. The Rams need to come up big. I know Aaron Rodgers has really had his way with the Rams, obviously back when he was with the Packers. But the Packers, I know they had a nice win over the Jaguars, but the Rams need this game. Their last 2 games are against the Cardinals and the Seahawks at home. If the Rams could get this game, that goes a long way, just because even if the Seahawks somehow lose, even if the Seahawks somehow win against the Vikings this week, the Rams could still control their own destiny. And I don't think they're going to get any help from the Carolina Panthers, who play the Arizona Cardinals. So you have that. And I guess it's safe. I guess it's worth noting that the Niners play the Dolphins, and then they play the Lions, which I'm sure the Lions are going to want to win that one. And then the Niners play the Cardinals. So the Niners could get, or if the Rams could get help from the Niners to make sure the Cardinals don't stay on the Rams' tail, that would be great as well. But for the Rams, they're facing a Jets team that's been pretty dysfunctional. Now, the Rams will be facing a Jets team that is coming off of a win over the Jacksonville Jaguars, but they just beat a Jaguars team that was probably worse than them. I mean, they're starting Mac Jones at quarterback because Trevor Lawrence is out for the season. So here's my thing. Rams need to dominate in terms of time of possession. They need to get their offense going. They have to keep protecting Matthew Stafford, because in the previous 2 games, Matthew Stafford has not been sacked, which I thought has been impressive. And keep in mind, the Niners defense is nothing to sneeze at. That is a very good defense. But if they keep Matthew Stafford clean in the pocket, I think that can go a long way. And the Rams haven't been turning the ball over as well, which I think has definitely gone a long way for them as well. So, and they need to put defensive pressure. The Jets O-line has not been good. So that could be, you could see Byron Murphy and Braden Fisk possibly getting at Aaron Rodgers. So the Rams really need to take care of business. I don't know how good Davante Adams will be. Davante Adams had himself a vintage Davante Adams game against the Jaguars, but that was against the Jaguars. Now they're facing the Rams, which they're young defensively. So that's my biggest fear for the Rams. If the Rams get caught up in the big win, or they have a little bit of a big buy rust, and eventually they get caught up in the trap. But I think the Rams win this one. It won't be easy, but I got them winning 31-21. I think the Rams, this one will be a little bit tougher. I don't think they're going to unless it's like raining down in New York or New Jersey, I don't think the Rams are going to be in another low-scoring affair where it's like rainy and sloppy and whatnot. So I think for the Rams, they just got to take care of business. They really got to keep getting Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp involved. Cooper Kupp obviously had a bagel of a game last week against the Niners, but they also need to get Kyron Williams going, keep him going, keep feeding him the rock, keep pounding the ball. I think for the Rams, they just got to keep playing their brand of football. And also, they just can't afford to look at the other scores. They can't just afford to have the Vikings take care of the Seahawks, because the Seahawks are fighting for their playoff lives, as well as the Vikings fighting for their division. And they also just can't bank on the Panthers to get the job done, because let's be honest, Panthers aren't going to beat the Cardinals. If they do, then I will be the first to say congrats to the Panthers. But yeah, I should also make note that the Rams have officially been flexed into primetime on Saturday. So next week is Christmas week, and there's going to be a primetime game. Everything's going to be all topsy-turvy since Christmas Day is on a Wednesday, and then since it's week 17, that's when the true games will be played on a certain day. So the Rams will be playing the Arizona Cardinals on Saturday. So it's going to be a primetime game. Good for the Cardinals, just because the Cardinals haven't gotten a primetime game. Well, they got one primetime game, but that was exclusively on ESPN+. Thanks, ESPN. But yeah, that's going to be a big game right there. The Rams can't afford to look ahead. I think this Jets game could be a trap game, but the Rams have really got to take care of business on their end. So get her done, Rams. Let's see what you can do. And hopefully you can join the Chargers in the winner's circle. All right, but that's going to do it for the Rams portion of the show. We're going to take ourselves a quick commercial break. When we come back, we've got some Lakers to discuss, and then we've got some Clippers to discuss, as well as some college hoops. So keep it locked here. You are listening to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. We'll be right back after this.
What's up, Pittsburgh? This is Ralph Calise, the host of the Injury Report on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Are you that passionate diehard Steelers, Penguins, Pirates, or just a Pittsburgh sports fan? Then please join me on the Injury Report every Tuesday on IE Sports Radio, the direct feed for all that is sports. And I will update you on all that's black and gold, have you telling your Pittsburgh fans and friends what's up with Pittsburgh sports. Tune in Tuesday with me, Ralph Calise, the Injury Report on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Let's go!
Sports fans, do you like teams that are tough, cities that are tougher, and fan bases that are passionate about their teams? How about teams that are historic and stadiums that are iconic? Then you belong in Chicago, and you need to check out Chi-Town Weekly. Join me, Adam Kernan, every week as we keep up with all things Chicago sports. Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks, Cubs, White Sox. We'll cover them all, plus more. The Windy City is always buzzing, and we'll keep you up on all the big games and major stories. So tune in to Chi-Town Weekly every week right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Back with segment number 2 of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. Definitely check out all of our amazing shows, such as Chi-Town Weekly and The Ins Report, which is actually live. So definitely want to check out those shows. And The Ins Report actually has a special guest, Mike Pat. So technically it is Let's Whine About the Yins Report. So just a little bit of food for thought right there. But let's get on into the second half of the show, or second part of the show. So let's talk some Lakers. So Lakers, they've actually won 2 straight. They actually haven't looked too bad. They actually just recently took down the Sacramento Kings yesterday, which I thought was good. They also took down the Memphis Grizzlies, which I thought was pretty darn good. Now, for the Lakers, I actually was a recent guest on Fast Break, which Davidson Crooks needed a co-host, and Dentarius Locke, unfortunately, Dentarius Locke was unfortunately not there. He had a track meet with Pitt, but I was able to step in and help out and talk a little bit of Lakers and NBA Cup as well. Even though the Lakers are not playing in the NBA Cup, but I digress. All right, but their most recent games, the Lakers wound up beating the Memphis Grizzlies 116-110. Now that was coming off of their coming off of a loss to the Minnesota Timberwolves, where they lost 97-87. And I think that was the game where the Lakers were forced into like 24 turnovers, which was unacceptable. Thankfully for the Lakers, they were able to get back in the win column with that win over the Grizzlies. They actually were leading pretty darn good until Anthony Davis got a shoulder injury, which really made me worry. And I'm like, oh no, Anthony Davis's great season is about to be a little bit derailed. Thankfully for the Lakers, they were able to hold on and win, just because the Grizzlies are pretty darn good. Like the Grizzlies are one of the more improved teams from last year, obviously with the whole Ja Morant thing. But thankfully for the Lakers, they are doing better than expected. They're doing good. They're starting to right the ship a little. And they also beat the Sacramento Kings last night, 113-100, which Anthony Davis and LeBron James were actually probable for the game. But Anthony Davis played. He registered a double-double and had 6 blocks. LeBron James put up some solid numbers as well. So good to see Anthony Davis's injury isn't, hopefully not too serious, knock on wood, as the Lakers and Kings are actually back in action tomorrow when they face off against one another. Will be played at the former Arco Arena in Sacramento. I'll still forever call some of these names by their old school names. So, yeah, the Lakers have the Kings this Saturday or tomorrow, which is pretty nice. They've got the Detroit Pistons at home on Monday. And then Wednesday, on Christmas Day, they'll be at the Golden State Warriors, which I'm fearing that matchup right there. I mean, I know Steph Curry just got off his worst performance in probably his Golden State, in probably his NBA career, but I'm fearing that game right there, and I fear that the Lakers are going to have a tough time against the hot shooting from the Golden State Warriors. And then after that, then next Saturday, the Lakers play the Sacramento Kings at home. So a lot of Sacramento Kings as of late. So hopefully for the Lakers, they can get the job done. They've actually beaten the Sacramento Kings 2 times this season. So maybe 3rd and 4th time will also be the charm for the Lakers and not for the Kings. So we'll see. All right, but the Lakers have been solid as of late. So not too bad, but there's still plenty of season left. As for the Clippers, they actually managed to pick up a win over the Dallas Mavericks. They crushed them 119-95. Now, I know Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic did not play, but I don't care. I mean, winning on the road is never easy. As Doc Rivers once said, winning on the road is the most difficult thing in the NBA, and the Clippers did that, which I thought was cool. So good job to the Clippers on that. They also thumped the Utah Jazz the game before, 144-107. And that came at a good time because the Clippers were on a 3-game losing streak. They had lost to the Denver Nuggets 120-98, which I thought was very concerning just because the Clippers seem to have the edge over the Nuggets this season. And they also lost to the Houston Rockets, which I'll give Houston this. They've been drastically improved. Like, the Rockets have the answer for the Clippers for some weird reason. And then the Timberwolves also beat the Clippers as well, but now the Clippers have won 2 straight. The Clippers will be back in action just like the Lakers. They face a familiar foe in the Dallas Mavericks tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time. Then Monday, the Clippers will play the Memphis Grizzlies in Memphis. Then they won't have another game until next Friday when they host the Golden State Warriors. A little bit of a gauntlet here for the Clippers, as they've got the Pelicans after that. Well, I guess that's about that. That's that. Just because the Mavericks, I mean, without Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, they're just not the same team. Memphis is pretty tough. And Golden State, even though they aren't that good as of right now, they could still be a tough contender. But I think the Clippers can handle the Warriors. I think the Clippers are better suited to take down the Warriors than the Los Angeles Lakers. So we'll see what happens. But for right now, good stuff for the Clippers. They're doing great guns, but it's just all about continuing their great success as the schedule only gets tough from here on out. But we'll see what happens with the Clippers and whatnot. So they're actually first in the Pacific Division, which I don't really think that matters, just because the Clippers, to me, I mean, the entire Pacific Division isn't all that great, and the NBA did away with the whole division. If you win your division, you get a top 4 spot. But looking at the Clippers and the Lakers in the Western Conference standings, the Clippers are 5th in the Western Conference, which isn't bad. And then the Lakers are 7th, which is not great. But thankfully, there's plenty of time left. If the playoffs start today or the play-in starts today, the Clippers would face the Timberwolves, which that can get a little dicey, just because even though the Lakers have had success at home, the Timberwolves have kind of been a thorn in their side, even though they beat the Timberwolves on opening night. But that was opening night. Let's be honest. Everybody was rusty back then, but we'll see what happens. So, yeah, that's pretty much that for the Lakers and Clippers portion of the show. I guess for those that are wondering, the Milwaukee Bucks wound up winning the NBA Cup, which they're actually not part of the SoCal chain pipeline and whatnot. So I guess that was just for those wondering, just because I was co-hosting with Davidson Crooks. So let's get to it for the Lakers and Clippers portion of the show. Yeah, not a whole lot to talk about with the Lakers and Clippers. Going over to a little bit of NHL, I didn't really have I'm only going to go over this briefly. The Kings are still doing great guns. They're 3 points back of the Las Vegas Golden Knights, but they're still kicking butt and taking names. They just recently beat the Philadelphia Flyers 7-3, which actually is the most goals they've scored this season. So I think it's pretty darn cool. There was even a stretch where the Kings had won 6 straight games until losing to the New Jersey Devils, then beating the New York Rangers, then losing to the Pittsburgh Penguins, and then beating the Philadelphia Flyers. I think that Pittsburgh Penguins loss actually came in overtime because, yeah, that was a tough loss right there. And that was a game winner by Rust, which it is what it is. So, unfortunately for the Kings, they are still behind the Las Vegas Golden Knights, but they're still within striking distance, and there's still plenty of season left. Can't say the same for the Ducks. Even though they've won 2 straight, they beat the Winnipeg Jets 3-2 and the Columbus Blue Jackets 4-3. This was coming off of a 5-game losing streak, which was no bueno. No good, if you ask me. So for the Ducks, the good news is for them, they're actually not the worst team in the NHL, let alone not the worst team in their division. San Jose is back to having that entirety of that whole ordeal of being the worst team in the NHL. Whereas the Ducks, they are the 6th worst team in the NHL, ahead of the Montreal Canadiens, San Jose Sharks, Buffalo Sabres, Chicago Blackhawks, and Nashville Predators. Yikes, the Sabres. Ugh. Weren't they close to making the playoffs last year? I'm just saying. Speaking of my boy Davidson Crooks, he says hit that like button. Hey, definitely do so. Thank you, Davidson, for tuning in. And also thank you for having me on Fast Break. And he also said the Rams got to take advantage of the Jets' disarray right now. That's it. That's the comment right there. That's what Rams need to do. I mean, yes, the Jets just won. Yes, but the Rams are coming in fresh. They're pretty much off of a mini bye. My only fear for the Rams is that they're gonna have too much rest, which would lead to rust, but I don't care. The Rams needed the rest, and now they will be facing a Jets team, which is, as Davidson Crook said, they're in disarray. So the Rams just need to take advantage of their situation and the fact that they are inching closer to winning the NFC West. And if they could do that, then the Rams could see themselves hosting a playoff game, which I think would be pretty darn good because let's be honest, the Chargers are not going to be hosting a playoff game. Plus, if the Rams win, I got some new Rams trip to break out. So just a little bit of a teaser right there. But that's going to do it for that little portion right there. We're going to take ourselves one last commercial break. When we come back, we've got some college hoops to talk about. UC Irvine unfortunately suffered its first loss of the season, but they're still kicking butt and taking names. And UCLA in men's and women's hoops continues to kick butt and take names of their own. So keep it locked here. You are listening to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. We'll be right back after this.
Hey sports fans, do you like wine? Well, we've got the show for you. This is Let's Wine About Sports, a show where we talk about wine and sports simultaneously. From the classic Cabernet Sauvignon all the way down to the grapes that you've never even heard of before. Oh yeah, we cover it all. And we'll talk about a little bit of sports as well. Football, hockey, collegiate, women's sports, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to whine about it all. So join me Monday at 8 p.m. on IU Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's up, New York? This is Ricky K coming at you at the NY State of Sports, a new show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Listen to me every Thursday afternoon as we bring you the latest takes on the Yankees, Mets, Jets, Giants, Knicks, Nets, Rangers, Devils, and Islanders. Plus, you get some college hoops and what's the local sports events going on in the area. It's a state that never sleeps, so why not get the opinions and sports takes that never sleep? Again, every Thursday, 2 p.m. to the NY State of Sports. We'll see you then.
And we are back with the last part of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. Definitely check out our amazing shows such as Let's Find About DMV Sports, which will be on tomorrow, as well as check out New York State Sports with Ricky K. All right, let's talk some college hoops. So on the men's side, UC Irvine suffered its first loss of the season, losing to Oregon State on the road, 67-55. This was a tough one for the Anteaters. The Anteaters, for those that don't know, they're actually one of the best, if not the best, debatably so, the best mid-major school in college men's basketball. But unfortunately, I think UConn has kind of taken that from under their noses. So unfortunately, UC Irvine wound up losing, and this is from mid-majors, so in other words, from non-Power 5. Even though in college basketball, I think the Big East can be considered a Power 5 conference, but I digress. So unfortunately for UC Irvine, they're no longer undefeated, which makes me sad face. But at the very least, they bounced back against Belmont, 92-84. So nice bounce back win for the Anteaters. They're still kicking butt and taking names. And then I guess some other notables. UCLA mowed down Arizona in a classic rivalry game, 57-54, which I thought was a nice little old school Pac-12 game. Nice little Pac-12 nostalgia right there. Then UCLA also took down Prairie View by a lot to a little, so you have that right there. The true test for UCLA is coming up as they will be playing Gonzaga, which that's kind of in the house of horrors for the Bruins, being a couple of years ago and then 3 years ago in the NCAA tournament where they lost in the Final Four off of a Hail Mary half-court shot. So, I'm sorry, it was a half-court heave, but I digress. So, there's that right there when it comes to UCLA. They are probably the best team in Southern California. I hate to say it. USC's been solid. They have won 3 in a row. They just took down Northridge 90-69. But let's be honest, USC is kind of in a little bit of a rebuild mode. So we'll see what happens with the Trojans. But I think SoCal belongs to UCLA in terms of college hoops. And I expect UCLA to make the NCAA tournament. So there's that on the men's side. So going to the women's side, UCLA women's hoops continues to kick butt and take names. They thrashed the living daylight out of Long Beach State and Cal Poly. So they're 11-0. They take on Creighton tonight, which I think is going to be a fun little matchup. Creighton's 9-2, but that's a very deceptive 9-2 right there. I think Creighton's going to really bring it. So I think for UCLA, they've got to be on their A game, and it's tough to really gauge these Midwest East Coast teams. So I think for UCLA, as long as they play their game, they should be fine. And then for USC, they are still kicking butt and taking names, even though they lost one game. So they're number 7 in the nation as they actually take on number 4 UConn in a rematch of last year's Elite 8 game. I imagine that's going to be on the mind of USC, and they're going to want to play really hard. UConn's going to be so good, though. I don't see USC winning, but I hope for the sake of USC, they get their revenge and whatnot. So I hope for their sake they are able to take down UConn, but it just doesn't feel in the cards, especially after how they lost to Notre Dame. So that's that right there for USC football. Those two, the UCLA and USC, are the two best teams in college basketball in terms of like SoCal. So that's that right there. Just one more little bit of a notable right there. I did talk about that as well. Everyone expected USC to just be the spotlight team from Southern California, but UCLA, they've been such a pleasant surprise with the addition of Lauren Betts. But in all, UCLA has to keep their head on a swivel, and they just got to continue to play their brand of girls basketball, or women's basketball. If they can do that, then they're not a whole lot's gonna be stopping them. So we'll see. So there's that right there for some college hoops. Jumping over to some high school football. So last Saturday, I had the distinct honor of covering Mater Dei versus De La Salle for 3-and-Out College Edition, which I thought was pretty darn cool. So everyone expected this to be a blowout, but not one person, which I'll get into in a little bit. But first quarter, Mater Dei struck first thanks to Jordan Davidson. He is bound for Oregon. Lucky dogs. Or should I say lucky ducks. So suddenly Mater Dei was up 7-0. They even got some good defensive plays from Nasir Wyatt. All in all, De La Salle could not really move the ball all that much. They didn't get a first down the first quarter. They had very few offensive yards altogether. I think they had like maybe 23 or 24 offensive yards at halftime. And Mater Dei's defense also registered a safety as well. So Couple that with two offensive touchdowns from Dash Byerly. Mater Dei was up 23-0 at halftime. It was looking like this was going to be a blowout. But De La Salle did what no other team from Northern California has done in the past 2 seasons. Score against the SoCal team in the CIF Open Division. So that's what De La Salle did. They had a quarterback rushing touchdown and then another quarterback rushing touchdown, and then they converted the 2-point conversion. So suddenly, Mater Dei's only up in a game where Mater Dei was dominating for the most part. Mater Dei was only up 23-15, which was actually the score going into the fourth quarter. But Mater Dei's defense rose to the occasion. Jordan Davison was also him, and also Mater Dei got a late receiving touchdown, as eventually Mater Dei shut the door on De La Salle, beating them 37-15. That was actually the first time I've ever really gotten to cover a game that wasn't really in my criteria. But I had to cover this game for Larry B. I promised Larry that if I got the credential from the CIF State Committee, I would cover Mater Dei, De La Salle, and I had to represent for 3 and Out College Edition. I had to get some interviews as well. Wish I could have gotten more, but I wanted the players to enjoy this moment. And, unfortunately, I think when it comes to media, the players obviously needed their pictures first, but pictures with the CIF trophy as well. But it is what it is. I'm not going to complain. At least I got 3 interviews. I got Raul Lara, the head coach of Mater Dei, who said that he was expecting a dogfight from De La Salle. I also got the quarterback from Mater Dei, Dash Byerly, and then I also got the running back from Mater Dei, Jordan Davison. So Dash Byerly is actually bound for Washington, while, like I said, Jordan Davison is bound for Oregon. Nasir Wyatt is also a notable name. I wish I could have gotten him. That's my thing. I wanted to get at least one defensive player, but unfortunately I could not. So it is what it is. Hopefully I will interview him in the near future, as well as some other starting Mater Dei players. But yeah, that was another state championship win for Mater Dei. They finished the season undefeated. They were never outside of number 1 in terms of Max Preps rankings, which I thought was pretty cool right there. And they got Raul Lara his first CIF state championship, as well as his first CIF Southern Section championship with Mater Dei. So that was, and it was Raul Lara's first undefeated season as a head coach, which I thought was pretty cool. So that was a great overall game. It wasn't blowouty. It was competitive. And I was happy that and Mater Dei, even though they didn't play their cleanest football, they were able to play the football that was great when it needed to be. So great job to Mater Dei on winning state, and congratulations to them on a fantastic season. All right, but that is that right there for Mater Dei football, and I guess high school football in general. And that's that for high school football in Southern California. So before we get on out of here, we have to give out the Dum Dum of the Week award. So I actually hadn't really thought of Dum Dum of the Week. I mean, there was some technical glitches on my end when I did a Zoom interview, so you're probably wondering why I'm late. I actually was going to do the show at 4 p.m., and then I took a nap and overslept, so oops. So yeah, that was unfortunately my bad. So I guess if someone had to get Dum Dum of the Week, I guess it would have to be me. And also when I was interviewing Jordan Davison, I was blanking on last year's Mater Dei's head coach's name. And then when I went back to listen at the interview, the player actually did say it. I'm like, oops, I wasn't listening. So yeah, so I guess if someone has to get Dum Dum of the Week this week, it'll be me. So I'll take the Dum Dum of the Week award just because I wasn't listening, and I should have remembered that player or the head coach from last year. I should have just written it down on a piece of paper or on the piece of paper that I had. But all in all, moral of the story is write down notes. If you have a piece of paper on you, thanks, Glitch. If you have a moral of the story, if you're trying to remember something, just write it down on a piece of paper prior. Don't try to be that guy and try to think things through during an interview. Otherwise, your brain's going to turn to mush and you're going to stumble. There you have it right there. That's your Dum Dum of the Week right there. I'm the Dum Dum of the Week. I'm sorry to everybody. I failed. But I guess to piggyback off of last week's Dum Dum of the Week, Devondre Campbell has been suspended for 3 games for the San Francisco 49ers, meaning this dude's season is officially over. So the Niners did the smart thing. I was expecting him to be released, but the Niners are saying, nah, you're not getting released that easily. We're not going to let you have your way and go to another team. So Devondre Campbell has been suspended for the last 3 games of the season, meaning his season's over. And this was a smart decision on the Niners' behalf. Instead of just releasing Devondre Campbell, who quit in the middle of the Rams-Niners game from last week, they said, no, you're staying here. You're not going to have your way. So great job to the San Francisco Niners organization and for being smart about this. And to Devondre Campbell, you lose. So, and I actually just realized this. I actually went back and saw the Rams Niners game from the first meeting, and I saw that Devondre Campbell was actually responsible for the pass interference, which eventually set up the go-ahead field goal for Josh Carty. So you can't make this stuff up. Devondre Campbell was the biggest liability against the Niners. It was the biggest liability for the Niners, which you can't make that up. I was looking back at that. I'm like, no way. Devondre Campbell was the one that had the pass interference call. Devondre Campbell, get ready to put the fries in the bag, buddy, because you wound up screwing yourself up, buddy. I can't help but laugh. I'm sorry if that sounds cruel, but Devondre Campbell, how could you do this, man? Oh, I'm sorry. But Devondre Campbell screwed up big time. All right, but that is that for the Dum Dum of the Week segment right there. Just piggybacking off of last week's Dum Dum of the Week, and I guess blaming myself for my blunders. But that is going to do it for this week's episode of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. I really do appreciate everybody tuning in. If you listen live, I appreciate you. If you listen on the playback, I appreciate you. If you listen at work, I appreciate you. If you listen at anytime, anyplace, anywhere, I appreciate you. Huge shout out to our sponsors, Plant Jerky, Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, and Seal the Deal Wax Seals. And our new sponsor, Vital Apparel. Once again, use the code IESR to get 15% off their comfortable and inspiring gym wear and help them on their journey to support mental health. I definitely support this, and I think you all should too. As for next week's show, it's looking like there should be a show. I'm not sure if it'll be next. Next Friday is December 27th, and I won't be leaving. Yes, I'm actually going to be leaving Southern California and heading down to Dallas-Fort Worth to visit my brother not this Sunday, but the following Sunday. But I'll still be doing SoCal Supreme Sports Show, as well as Set Point and 3 and Out College Edition with Larry B. So don't think I'm going anywhere, but yeah, just a little bit of an update right there in case you're wondering why I have a different background. But there should be a show next week for SoCal Supreme Sports Show and Set Point. So definitely do tune in. Hopefully I don't fall asleep. I shouldn't, just because I should be done with all my early shifts, barring anything drastic and whatnot. But until then, thank you all for tuning in. Have a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy whatever you celebrate this season. Have a great holiday. I will see you all on Monday for Set Point. Have a great rest of the week. And remember, SoCal is for SoCal. Peace!